Hey, hi friends, welcome back. Welcome back to the B.ScIT M.ScIT question and answer series. Myself Guru, and today we are going to see the topic from B.ScIT question paper, that is describing the visibility of a class member by using the access modifiers. So we have the access modifiers like private, protected and protected internal. So by using this three access modifier, we need to describe the visibility of a class members. So if you have any queries or any doubts, you can feel free to mail me on this email ID, that is gurumatrix2004@gmail.com. So let's start our session now. So before we start up our session, let's understand access modifiers, something about the access modifiers. So let me just open up my notepad and let me say access modifiers. Okay my friends, in C# we have 5 different types of access modifiers, 5 different types of modifiers which we can use, that is public, private, protected internal and protected internal. So these are the 5 different types of access modifiers. Now these access modifiers are the keyword used to specify two methods, properties, class, or even delegates, so you can specify these keywords to any of the member or a type. And what happens when we specify these members, this access modifiers keyword to the method or type, so it provides the way to handle that method, that member or type, to expose or to hide. I mean to say, which member has a certain features or not, so we can specify that yes, this member can be shown here, or this type cannot be shown here, or let's say this member can be shown here or this member cannot be shown here. Let's say if you want to expose something by using that object, by using that class object, then it is only possible by using access modifier. If you specify the access modifiers, then only you can expose the certain methods or properties from that class. If you don't specify that access modifiers, then by default you cannot expose anything. Or vice versa, if you want to hide anything, inside the class, okay, if you want to encapsulate anything, from outside the world, then you need to use access modifiers. So access modifiers are very important in C# in terms of our object-oriented design, also in terms of our programming also. They have been used everywhere, so it is very important to understand the different types of access modifier, the different uses of this different access modifiers. So this is everything about the access modifiers. We need to use keyword to the member to specify a member or type, and these keywords helps us to give an accessibility to the member or type. If you want to expose, then use public access modifier. If you want to hide anything from outside the world, then use private access modifier. Like that, there are different uses of this access modifier. So let's understand one by one. So let's start our one by one topic. So we will go one by one. We will first understand about the private access modifier, and we will see everything by using our code examples, as a real-time example. Okay, because this cannot be explained theoretically. I will show you the demo of each access modifier one by one. Okay, so let me just open up my Visual Studio 2010 to show you the examples, to show you the demo of each access modifier. So I am just opening up my Microsoft Visual Studio 2010. So we will see that access modifiers one by one. So first we will understand about the private access modifier. So let me just create a console application project. To create the console application project, I will go to my file, I will say new, I will say project, and from this box I'm going to select console application, and my language is Visual C#, and my framework is 4.0, and I will just give the nice name as access modifiers. Oops. Okay, so let me just say okay, and as you can see that the Visual Studio has created the console application project by using with some default libraries, and with the nice namespace access modifier, and with the class program. So now let's try to understand access modifier one by one. So we will first understand something about private. Private access modifiers, as the name implies, private, so everything is kept to be private. The members or a type when specified with the private access modifier, then it is accessible only within the class scope, not outside the class scope. I mean to say, if I declare any variable with private access modifier, then it is accessible only within this class scope. Outside the class scope, outside of that class or outside of that scope, it is not been accessible. So it is accessible only within the class. So let me just show you the demo of that. Let's say I will create a simple class, a class CLS employee, and let me just create a variable. Let's say private int access code is equal to 9. Okay, now let me just create an object here. See, as you can see that I am not able to find my variable access code here. I am using the object of my class CLS employee, but still I am not able to find my variable access code. Now let me show you how you can find that variable, how you can get that access. So as you can see that this variable is only accessible within the class. Now I will show you how how it has been accessible within the class. Let's say if I create a public void method, if I say access code, or let's say I will say this dot C. As you can see that I am able to access my variable access code within the class, not outside the class, because since it's been specified with the private access modifier, it is been accessible only within the class. Now we were talking about here, if we want to get the access, how we can get that access of this private variable. We know that we cannot get the access of this private variable access code, but how we can achieve that? So we can achieve that by using our another access modifier, that is public. Yes, we will talk about public now. See, as you can see that I have specified my class with public only as a keyword, Now let me tell you, my friends, public access modifier, whenever is been specified to a member of or type, it is that particular member or type is been accessible everywhere, inside the class, outside the class, or inside that namespace. Inside this namespace, I mean to say, this is the namespace, or outside of this namespace, or let's say another project, everywhere this it is that particular member or type is been accessible if that member or particular type is been specified with the public access modifier. So by using the public access modifier, we can achieve, or let's say we can get the access of that particular member type anywhere. So public is like public, as the name specifies public, so it is like a public, so we can get him anywhere. So if I specify this keyword, let's say public, if you see, if I use my object as obj, if I say .c, I am able to see my access code here, access code variable, because it is been specified as a public access modifier. So this is about the public and private. Public is been accessible everywhere, private is been accessible only within the class scope, not outside the class scope. So this is about the public and private. And now let's talk about protected now. If we specify a member or type with a protected access modifier, then it means that it is been accessible only within the class and as well as in the child classes. Yes, as well as in the child classes, that particular variable is been accessible. I will show you how. Let's say this is my public class employee, and I will say this as my access code as protected. Now if I try to access by using the object, see, I'm not able to access my access code because it is protected, and protected variables are only accessible within the class as well as in the child classes. I will show you, within the class. Let's check within the class whether it has been accessible or not. If I say this dot, yes, as you can see that our access code is been accessible within the class. So this is done. Now let's implement another class. Let's say public class salary. Let's say CLS salary, because employee has got salaries also. So now if I implement employee here, I am going to implement my CLS employee class. Now this CLS salary is become a child class for this CLS employee class. Now if I try to access, let's see what happens. Let me just create an object here. If I use this object now, oops, sorry, I just implemented in wrong way. Let me just remove this, because I have already implemented my CLS employee class here, so I don't need to create that object, So now let me just access by using this. Let's see. Yes, as you can see that we can able to access our protected variable by using the. So yes, we can able to access our access code, as you can see that. So by using this keyword, I mean the same class object, I am able to access my access code which is protected in my CLS employee class. So if I make this as private, let's see what happens. If I say this dot, see, I'm not able to see that access code, because it is been private, and private variables are accessible only within the class. If I make this as protected, if I click on this and if I say like this, then yes, by using the same object, we can able to access that variable access code, that is access code. Yes, so this is all about our protected access modifier. So till now, so you have seen an example of a protected access modifier, an example of private access modifier, and a public access modifier. Now we will see a example of internal access modifier. So for that, I will be declaring a internal keyword to this variable, access code. So let's see. Okay, now if a member or a type or a variable is declared with an internal access modifier, then that particular variable or a type or a member is been accessible only within that particular namespace. So what that mean, I will explain you. I mean, I have declared this variable with internal access modifier keyword under this namespace. So this variable is been accessible only within this namespace. So that means we are talking about access modifier namespace. So it means access code variable is only been accessible within this access modifier namespace, not other namespace. Okay, now let's check that whether it is been accessible within the namespace or not. So let me click on this, and if I click here, see friends, as you can see that I am able to access that internal access modifier variable in the different class, that is CLS salary also, where our CLS employee class has been implemented as a parent class. So now let me just check by creating an object of CLS employee. Yes, I have created an object of CLS employee. Now by using this object, let me check whether I am able to access my internal access modifier variable or not. Yes, as you can see that I am able to see the access code variable by using the object of CLS employee. So it means I am able to see my variable, in the different classes. Now what I will do, let's do some more tweaks. Now what I will do in this same project, access modifier is my project name, I will add a new class. To add up the new class, what we will do, I'm just clicking on, I'm just right clicking on the access modifier, my project name, and I will get this box. I'm going to add a new item. I'm going to add a class, so I will say add. So as you can see that my new class file has been created. Just see the solution explorer, see the class one and the program, a program which is having the access modifier, internal access modifier variable, and this is my new class. What I will do here also, I will be creating the same object of CLS employee. See friends, here also in the different class file also I am able to see my access code, a variable of internal access modifier. Now let's say if I make this access code as protected, let's see whether I am able to access that access code here or not. See friends, I'm not able to see that access code variable here because it is been protected here. So if I make this as internal, then so my friends, it is proven that whenever a member or type is been declared with the internal access modifier, then it is been accessible only within the namespace. Now let's check with some other namespace whether it is true or not, So for that I will be adding a new project. To add the new project, I'm just clicking on the solution. I will say add new console application. Okay, my new project has been created. As you can see here in my solution explorer, one is access modifier, one is console application, the new one which I have just added recently. Now it has got a new namespace called console application 1. Now what I will do, I'm going to reference my access modifier project to this console application project. To do the references, just right click on the references, add reference, just add the project. Okay, as you can see that the access modifier project has been added under the references of console application 1. Now let's import by using keyword, using access modifiers, cls employee obj equal to new cls employee obj so obj, if I say dot, see friends, as you can see that I'm not able to see my access code variable. It is internal only, but still I'm not able to see my access code variable because it is internal, and internal access modifier property is the member or type only visible within the same namespace, not in other namespace. So it is proven that internal access modifier variables are only accessible within the same namespace. Now if I make this access modifier, the internal access modifier to public, let's see whether I'm able to see this variable or not, because public is accessible everywhere. See, because we have declared that we have just changed to internal to public, I'm able to see that access modifier variable, of public, that is access code. So it is proven that internal access modifier is only accessible within the same namespace, and public access modifier variable is been accessible everywhere. So now we have just talked about private, protected, internal, public. Now let's see our last topic, that is protected internal. As the name implies, it is the combination of protected plus internal. Okay, so protected internal, so let me just write here as protected and internal, protected internal. Now protected internal is been accessible, the variable or a member type which declared as a protected internal, that particular member type or type is been accessible within the class, within the child class, within the same namespace, within a different namespace also, but if that different assembly class is been acting like a child class, Okay, let's suppose I have declared a class here called CLS employee, and inside here I have a variable called access code of protected internal access modifier. Now as you can see in my solution explorer, I have two projects here. One is console application one is access modifier. Access modifier is a project where my protected internal variable is there. Now what I will do, I will go to my console application 1. As you can see that I have already referenced the access modifier project in the console application 1. I will go to my program 1.cs, and as I told you, if my CLS employee class will act like a parent class to this program class, of different assembly, I mean to say, if my CLS employee class will act like a parent class to this program, this program class, then this protected internal variable is been accessible, otherwise it will not accessible. Let's see, because I have just declared an object here, let's see whether it has been accessible or not. If I say obj see friends, it is not been accessible. Now what I will do, I will just remove this. I will remove this statement also. What I will do, I will just implement my CLS employee class here, and by using this keyword, let's say I will create a program object here, program obj equal to new program. So by using the same class object, just see whether I am able to access or not. Yes friends, I am able to access my protected internal access modifier variable access code, successfully, because my CLS employee class is acting like a parent class here. So if I make this as, let's say, internal, let's see whether I'm able to access or not in the different namespace. obj.c, I'm not able to access that internal access modifier variable. So if I make this as protected internal, yes, I'm able to access in the different assembly also. So protected internal is bit like a public only. So if you are thinking to use protected internal, then just go for public only, because it is been exposing everywhere, so no need to declare protected internal, just declare public, so it will work fine everywhere. So this is it, we have seen everything. So we have seen an example of protected internal, if we have seen example of public, internal, protected, private, all the access modifiers successfully. So my friends, this is all about the access modifiers in C#. If you have any doubts or any queries, regarding this session, or regarding the access modifiers, or regarding any query, just feel free to mail me on gurumatrix2004@gmail.com. and this was the same question was asked in October 2010 for 6 marks, so it is very important for exam point of view also for B.ScIT students. So B.ScIT students, if you have any doubts, feel free to mail me on this email ID, okay. So thank you friends, thanks a lot.